Good morning, Survivor Rites.
Good morning, Crystal.
Hello. Hey, Brad, how are you?
I'm well.
We have so much to talk about this morning. I'm going to just wait for a second for people to hop on here.
Okay.
Uh, but we can go ahead and get started chatting. So it has been a week for me, man. I, you know, I think getting ready for the show that we did on Wednesday with Cynthia and Denise,
Right.
just thinking through, like what I used to say that the workers, the overseers didn't have, um, they were ignorant, they just didn't know what they didn't know.
Right.
And so then when I really learn how much they have been informed and what they have been told by so many people, and then, losing Martin to suicide, and I had a lot of difficult conversations with people. I had a great conversation with you getting ready for today, but I just laid awake Friday night, just like, what in the world? And I was thinking, there's such a difference between bitching and moaning and crying and wailing. Like,
Right.
I feel like for so many years, a lot of people say to me, oh, I don't get on all those sites anymore because just a bunch of people bitching and moaning. Well, I have decided that crying and wailing is a very real thing and needs to happen. And I think it's part of the process. Um, and I was like, just rage, the exact rage that I had talked about I wrote about it here on Survivor just a couple days before that. But it's like, how do they sleep at night? That's what I was wondering. I'm just laying there thinking, how
Well,
do they sleep at night? And then I had posted, I have never been on CCF before, and I joined CCF on Friday very quickly while I was doing a million other things and responded to my dear friend Tina Days. And it was like, I know she took it personally and blasted her, and I didn't mean it that way at all. But it's like, you come home and kick the dog when you're upset, and it was just like in
right.
general about everything. And I was like, how do they sleep at night? I wonder that, Brad. And so,
It's a
yeah,
picture of a seared conscience, I believe.
I believe it is too. So I wanted to start the show today. Our guest today, everyone, good morning. Welcome to Survivor Rights. I've been sitting here ranting. Let's get the show on the road because this is not about me. This is about moving forward and finding a way to have a dialogue and to connect with one another in a way that is so meaningful and actually moves the needle on moving things forward. Our guest today is my dear friend, Brad Graves. He is located in Maine, for those of you who don't know him. And after my rant that I just had today, Brad, here, I want to start with the very distinct conversation that we had about the way you were before, and then you had a change of heart. I want to hear about that change of heart because it gave me hope in the middle of the night on Friday when I was like, what is wrong? Like, how do they sleep? I just have to believe that if there ever is a fervent prayer to God, that there could be a change of heart. Talk to us about yours.
Yeah. Before I start there, Crystal, there's a couple things we talked about the other day on the phone that I didn't want to forget.
Okay?
One of them is the apology that I made to my children a few years back because there were things that we did in our home that were not sin in the eyes of God, but I felt guilty about them. Not that God would find out because he knew, but it was all around the rules and expectations of others. And so what I've told my children is that while that was not sin, that one of the things that I showed them how to do or taught them how to do was be deceitful.
Mm.
I'm very thankful that we ended up with three very honest children in spite
Yes.
of that. Um, the other one is to acknowledge that we all have suffered some form of abuse,
Yes.
and I don't want to minimize that when I talk today. Others have seen things much more severe than myself. But one of the things that has helped me the last couple of years, I've enjoyed listening to the Bema podcast with Marty Solomon and Brent Billings and some guest hosts, and he teaches scripture from the Eastern perspective rather than the Western perspective. And one of the stories that he speaks about that really hit me between the eyes, and I shared it with my children as well, is a story of Abraham and Isaac, and we always heard about Abraham's faith and how much faith he had, but we never heard about the impact that could have had, most likely did have on Isaac. And he did a podcast on that. It's a Bema podcast, and it's episode 217 for anybody that wants to listen to it.
Okay, Kelly, can you spell that out in the comments, please, for us?
I sure can.
And
I
I can actually.
so the things that I did because of my faith impacted my children. Things that my parents did and grandparents and great-grandparents did because of their faith impacted 4 generations.
Yes.
It helped me to get past some of that. I shared it with my son. I think I shared it with all my children, and my son's response was, "Dad, we've forgiven you. It's okay to move on, but thanks for sharing that perspective."
I love that, Brad. Can I just stop right there for one quick second? Because I think a lot of people listening, whether today or later, have a lot of guilt about the way they raise their children. I want to acknowledge that very loudly. I want people to know that there is redemption in that, and that, it really is as simple as asking for genuine forgiveness. I really believe that you don't have to suffer the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And neither do they. There's a way out. So thank you.
And our past is what shaped us to what we are today, and today's
Yes.
better than it was in the past. So,
But that
can-
duplicity,
tomorrow will be better. Yeah.
tomorrow will be better. The duplicity and the deceit, we could have a whole show just on that, because it's very damaging.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll get into my heart change.
Yes. We're going to both cry, aren't we?
Well, I hope I can hold this together. There's people that have heard bits and pieces of this story. The other thing that I wanted to share today was like the hardest part of leaving, which was knowing we were going to lose community.
Yes.
And this recounting of this story it captures so many facets of my journey out of the 2x2. An increased, a heart change, a change of heart, and how quickly God can answer some prayers. So it was the summer of 2023 when we heard about Dean Brewer, and then we heard about Leslie White, and it was a family member, and I always get confused who it was, suggested we get on Wings of Truth and CCF because stories were coming out about Kelly's uncle, and they didn't want us to be blindsided. For those listening that aren't aware, Kelly's uncle was Leslie White. So in the course of my discovery of things that had been written over the years, I came across the name of the ex-husband of my second cousin, who lives in Colorado today. He and his wife were excommunicated many years ago. Their daughter was abused by Ira Hobbs, and he would not be silent about it, so they were put out. Kelly and I were fairly newly married at that time, and we heard basically don't talk to those folks that have gone and started their own religion. So that's how that went. Anyways, I ran across his name on CCF, and now knowing the truth, I reached out to him, and we started a conversation. At this point, I was still in meetings. Reached out to him, and we had a chat, and he found out we lived in Maine. And he said, there's this lady on CCF that lives in Utah that's been wanting to get baptized, and the workers won't let her get baptized, and she's planning to visit Maine. If it worked out, would you be able to talk to her and answer some questions? I said, yeah, sure. I'm no authority on baptism, but anyways, I thought that I could talk to this lady. Shortly after that, I watched the roundtable discussion on CCF about grace. Cindy Lynn Harper, Sean Alcenhus, Tim Boris, and Whitney Nelson, I believe, were the 4 that had that discussion. And I don't know if it was while I was watching that or if it was afterwards and these thoughts were going through my mind that I went back and read what they had talked about. And the depth and extent of God's grace hit me hard. And it's like it seems like that was the day my ego was smashed, because I realized that there was nothing I could do to earn my salvation, that it was a gift. And I went up to my bedroom, I got on my knees, and I thanked God. And then my prayer was, if there's any way you can use me at all, just do it. So that would have been early to mid-September. End of September, I get a call from this lady, and she's coming to Maine for a wedding. Anyways, her route was going to bring us pretty close. So she showed up at our house at noontime on Monday, and we had pizza and visited for about 4 hours on the back deck, and she just poured her heart out. She had gone into renal failure. She received a kidney from a Zen Buddhist. And during her recovery, she was sitting on her back deck. It got her just thinking about life and about her spirit and reading the Bible. And she said, I came across this verse, said, follow me. And she said, what does that mean? And she said, in that moment, God revealed himself to her. She was having work done on her house. The man doing the work went to meetings in Salt Lake City. Divorced man. So when they were at meeting, they were just friends, obviously. That couldn't be let known that they had any relationship at all. But she went to meeting for about 3 years with him, and she begged and pleaded to be baptized. And she was told that she couldn't because she hadn't followed what was it he called it?
Structure?
No. It basically hadn't followed the worker way. And she says, I don't see this in the Bible. I can't see it in the Bible. So we talked about these things for, like I said, for about 4 hours. And then she said, I need to get going to check into my Airbnb. And we said, well, where's that? She says, it's in Union, Maine. Well, that's where we live. She had an Airbnb on a little place called Round Pond, which is a pond that Kelly and I frequently go kayaking in. I mean, that's how close to home that she had made these plans months before we ever met. On Tuesday, we had errands to run in town, and I finished mine early, and Kelly and I were going to have breakfast, and I called her up to see if she could meet us. She mentioned a couple young couples that were coming out to see her while she was in Maine, and thought maybe they were at breakfast already, and she said no, that they were not coming till the evening. So she came and joined us for breakfast, and it was twice during breakfast that the topic of baptism came up again. And I felt something come through me that was, I can't explain the feeling. But I looked in the eyes and asked her if she'd like to be baptized. And her eyes got about the size of 2 dinner plates.
Yeah.
So she talked to her friends, and we all met at the pond that evening. And we had a baptism. This was on Tuesday. So we met Monday afternoon. This baptism occurred Tuesday evening. And the 2 couples that were there, that met up with her, it was a brother and sister married to, so there were 2 couples that were there, and their parents were from Wisconsin, but these couples, one lived in Utah and had gone to Bible study with this lady, and the other couple was in Montana. I think I was getting dry clothes on, and the young man went to Kelly, and she said she heard we were going on vacation out to Minneapolis to visit our son. They said if it wouldn't be a problem for you and you went anywhere near them, could you stop and see my parents? They've been going through some difficult times too, some struggles. So we said sure and got the address and phone number. We spent 3 days in Slim Lake in a cabin. The day we were to go to Minneapolis, I put my son's address into maps, and then I punched his folks' address in. it was a mile off of 1 mile off of our planned trip. We drove into their yard and they met us with hugs. We'd never met these people before, and we visited with them for the afternoon, several hours. They had just, they'd been elders for about 9 years and had just given their meeting up. And this past summer, they were in the East. They came and spent a couple days with us in Maine. So we, I mean, for those things to happen in that small period of time, me understanding God's grace and accepting the gift of salvation, and that's where I felt my heart change. I really did. I wrote it down yesterday, and now I've lost it. I'll call it my Ezekiel 36:26 moment. My heart went from being a heart of stone to a heart of flesh. And to have love for people that I used to look down on and scorn, to have judgment fall away, to tell God that if you can use me, do it. And within 2 weeks, there's a baptism here, and that's nothing of me. And what that did for her faith, on her journey in life, to wondering about loss of community, and then meeting people that are 100 miles away that we've kept in touch with, and they're from the same tribe, right? They know what our rituals and totems are, and we've met there's been other community come into our life, other friends come into our life, but it was just so many things answered in that short period of time, and so many things that have happened. It really been that will be probably the most incredible month of my existence, other than maybe when we got married.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Brad, for that. Sarah says, like the expression says, you can't make this shit up, and that is very, very true. I say that a lot.
Darla Boyd says it.
When
Actually, yeah.
It's okay to mention their names. I don't see why not.
I don't see why not, but it was the couple that
The couple we met in Wisconsin that came to visit us.
she said that.
When they were here and we were sitting around the table and talking about different things, and she and Kelly would just look at each other and you just can't make this stuff up. You cannot make it up.
You cannot. And that's why I just so value the community that we have now, and our relationship, knowing you two,
Excuse me.
all of it on so many levels, so many people in the world that I didn't know 2 years ago, and now they're just a huge part of my everyday life. And, but I just love, and I really want to emphasize how much love, genuine connection, genuine love is in what we have now.
Well, there were people that we saw twice a week, and their last words when they left our house were, "We love you guys." And we had dinner with them once last summer when their friends from college were visiting us, who we got to know through CCF. And they invited their old friends to dinner, and we met. I think they were guilted into dinner, actually, and it was very awkward. And we said, we need to get together for pizza sometime. And they said, yeah, we need to. And we said, we're retired. We'll let you set the schedule.
Yeah.
We can be available whenever it's good for you. And it's never been good for them.
Yeah.
But people we saw, again, twice a week that we thought were friends are now distant. People now that we see once every 2 years, when you meet them, you just pick up where you left off, and it's like you've never been apart.
One of the things that Rosie talks a lot about in Worthy is how habitually we lived. And we did. People in general, it's just human nature to live that way. Like, this is what you do. But in the 2x2s, we did it like magnified. We lived so habitually on this is what you do, this is who you see, and it never, so it's like, it's like just this low hum, but it doesn't have what we have now. Like, we wake up and choose every day to connect and to call and to pick, like, all of that. It's all choice, and it's all fueled by our desire and passion to have this kind of connection that we're talking about now.
Yeah, and it's walking by faith rather than walking by sight. To me, it's like we walked by a rule book and a checklist, and
Yes.
now you get up in the morning and you're not really sure what direction your day is going to take.
And that has its own pitfalls, you
Well,
know?
it does, but it can be pretty exciting some
It is
days.
very exciting. Jared calls it the free fall. I think,
Yeah,
actually, I think it was Steve Padden that referred to it as the free fall. Because there's a window of time that you go through that you're like, oh, this is exciting. And I just think that it takes a level of resilience. We talk a lot about resilience as a group, but just teaching those things and most importantly, like letting go of the isolation. I think if there's anything, one thing that I have thought a lot about this week, because the biggest reason people who are, trigger warning here, suicidal, um, it's a lack of connection. It's the thing that saves most people is connection in that moment. And if there's anything that we can do to have that be a deeper, stronger connection, and we just come out of such isolation and the shunning, the reason that they do it is because it's so powerful. It keeps people in line. It's that powerful. And I just want people to know and understand that that is not biblical. It is not Christ-like. It is not what God would. And to have, to see the change in so many hearts in the world, of just open, being broken open, and letting all that love just flow in and back and forth. It's so powerful. So
yeah, and early on, I think after we left meetings, I think if I'm being honest, I would have to say I was a little bit jealous of others that are still in the workforce, others that live in areas where there were whole meetings that left, or
yeah,
many in the community that left. In the state of Maine, Kelly and I, Kelly's sister, her niece and her husband, and then just this past year, a couple in northern Maine that we haven't met yet. They moved to Maine right around the time of COVID. We haven't even met them yet. That's it in the state of Maine.
wow,
So I have no work connections. I mean, there's folks that I used to work with, and that's 20 miles away, and I see some once in a while. But it's like it has caused us. I don't know if I'll just say the result of it is I think we've come in contact with people in the local community.
mm-hmm,
We've found that it's okay to just sit and be quiet, and to enjoy the company of each other, or to
mm-hmm.
quiet's okay.
Yeah.
Quiet's
Here's
okay.
the thing
So we
that
used to think of God as being so distant. When you come to the day when you realize, when you go back and you realize that Jesus said the kingdom of heaven is within you, when you realize that
yes,
the divine is in you and he's not distant,
right.
then when you sit in the quiet alone, you can realize that you're not alone.
One of the things I wanted to ask you that I have been thinking a lot about this week is I want to ask you this question. My cognitive brain says, and I'm only speaking, I can only really speak from my own experience. I know a lot of people have said this also, that when they were in, they didn't really read the Bible. They didn't like truly read the Bible. They read the Bible to find something to say on Sunday morning or Wednesday night. And, it wasn't. And so, and since leaving, for the ones who do choose to read the Bible, they read it very, very differently. But I really, like, back to your change of heart, like, I just want to give hope to people that maybe it's possible that those who are choosing to stay, like, we all know what the cost is of leaving, right? We know it's so many things. It's not just community. It's a lot of things. That maybe something will reach them or touch them in a way that will get them to read it differently and see that this is not how God meant for us to love one another. And this is not how Jesus lived and cared for those. The judgment is just flat wrong. All of it. One of my closest friends told me when I left meeting, if you ever read your Bible again, just focus on the red letters, Crystal. Just focus on the red letters. And
We went back and did that, and our son had told us had done that, and I think it's good advice. It was good advice for me. I did read a book a couple of years ago, and I forget the author's name, but the title of it was "Judaism is About Love," and And now to go back and read through the Old Testament and see places where we see generosity, where we see mercy, where we see love, and not just for their own tribe, but love for people outside the tribe.
Right.
It does. The Bible reads very differently to me today.
Yes.
I mentioned that verse in John to my brother one day, that God so loved the world, not just the little group of people,
Right.
the world. And he's like, oh, so anybody? And I said, yeah, I thought he was getting it. And he just shook his head.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Somebody asked if you were a jerk before. Kelly's saying, no, you were not.
Was I a jerk before?
Alethea asked me. I said, you changed.
She says that like I'm not anymore.
Never were.
Mardell is saying that she absolutely adores just sitting and being quiet. I think that quiet is so different now. I feel like I live for it now. I can't live without it now. And before it was like I just needed noise to just keep me, I don't know, keep me from thinking it through, I guess, or feeling what I felt.
Yeah, I had to get out of the house yesterday afternoon. It's been cold here, and so we've just been spending a lot of time by the fire. Anyways, I went to a trail. It's 5 minutes from the house, and I only walked, I think it's a half mile in, a half mile out. But a half mile in, there's a little bridge where there's a little brook that usually runs. And yesterday, it was frozen over, snowed over, and there's a little spot, no bigger than that, with open water, and there was nobody around. And I sat there and took a video of it, and you got to turn the volume up. But to hear the bubbling brook, and to me, it was like the sound. Well, living water in the Hebrew tradition was rain or fresh spring water, right? I mean, to me, that was living water flowing from the top of this mountain from a spring or snow melt. And it had to be completely quiet, and I had to be completely quiet to hear the sound of it flowing by. And that's when God speaks to us.
Yes.
When we're quiet.
Yes.
When we were praying about our decision to leave meetings, he woke me up between 2 and 3 in the morning several days in a row.
I can tell you, we made a choice to live. My husband followed my lead on this because it was what I needed to do for myself. I felt this coming. I don't know how I did or what. I don't know exactly what happened. I will never know. But I knew that I needed to get to a place where I could literally put my feet on the ground. So we actually live on native land, ancient native lands that had never been lived on before. And to feel like we're 25 acres completely off the grid in the middle of nowhere. That buffer for me, not only it's profound silence, it is profound, like you have to have a very deep sense of knowing who you are, why you're here, what's going on to live out like this, especially like I'm alone now for this weekend. My husband's back in Portland visiting his mom, but I'm in like, it is in these moments where I know I just get the strongest voices of like just strong love to keep doing what I'm doing and to find the strength to move forward. A lot of people say, I don't know how you do it, or I don't know. I'm telling you, it comes from living so silently and so close to nature and so close to the river, the Columbia River. So many things that just keep me in this solid foundation.
Yeah, and you couldn't do what you're doing without love, Crystal.
No.
That was one of the things that came clear to me, again, back to the Bema podcast and understanding the Eastern mind versus the Western mind. It's like in our culture, I think love is frequently thought of as an emotion. Mm-hmm. And in the Eastern culture, love, compassion, they're actions. Mm-hmm. And when that. Well, and how many times we read Jesus was moved with compassion, right? Compassion and pity is when you look down on somebody and say, I'm glad I'm not you.
Yeah.
Compassion is when you can look them in the eye and say, what can I do to help?
Yes.
And so that's what you're doing.
With my whole heart, with my whole life, with my whole everything, it just,
But it's not an emotion. It's an action.
no,
It's an action.
yes, it is. And it's, somebody said to me, isn't it crushing? I said, yes, yes, it's crushing. Yes, I do it. Yes, every day, all day, morning, noon, and night. But in the most fulfilling way, like, I struggle with kidney disease, and it's like, well, what if it kills you? Well, what if it does? I will die on this hill, It's not stressful to me at all. It just feels so real and meaningful, and I can't even imagine doing anything different than what I do all day, every day. Um, I just can't.
So you use the word crushing. This is another piece of wisdom I stumbled across in the last couple of years. There's a vessel. You take a mug that size, can hold a certain amount of coffee, whatever.
This is coffee. Yep.
Break it. It can now hold the infinite.
Boy, has that happened to me.
Wrap your head around that one.
Yeah.
You just keep pouring in, and it keeps. Fast as you pour it out, it's poured back in.
It is. I don't ever run dry of the love that I feel, ever. The compassion just, it is, yeah, incredible. Literally incredible to me. So much more to talk about. Did you, by the way, it just occurred to me, I had a message yesterday. Did you hear there's going to be another special meeting in Wisconsin? Ah,
Yeah.
my light is falling.
Aren't they all special?
No, it's a special.
An,
Predator special.
an extra special.
Extra special.
Do you know who's to be there?
Well, it's made for predators. Remember
Wow.
the one they had last year?
Yeah. We
Yeah.
didn't make it.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
They had it just for the.
Sorry about that. Little
That's
mishap.
okay. That's okay. So
I have a few things on my desk.
that's all right.
Okay.
I had one more little story about finding
Yes.
community, because we found a ton of community through CCF. I mean, when we went to Florida last winter and back, I mean, we stopped for dinner, we had breakfast, we had invites to stay overnight, and all the way down and back. I mean, it's incredible.
That's awesome.
Incredible. But outside of that, so it was the summer of, was it just a year ago? 2 years ago that we were in Rehoboth.
Oh, 2 years ago.
2 years ago, we were going down to New Jersey for Memorial Day. Our daughter lives there, and our grandson and granddaughter were going to be in the Memorial Day parade. So I said, well, let's go early, and we'll just kind of relax for a few days before, the summer season breaks loose and rates go up. So we went to Rehoboth Beach. I grew up in Dover, Delaware, so it was about an hour from where I grew up, and we used to go to Rehoboth go swimming in the boardwalk and whatever. So we were relaxing one afternoon on the deck outside of where the pool area was, and Kelly hears behind her this voice that says, I think you've taken my seat. And she didn't know if it was some kind of creeper or what, but anyways, she turned around and looked, and this guy's she had a little glint in his eye and a grin on his face, and he and his wife sat down, and we just talked for the afternoon, and they invited us to go to dinner with them, and we declined. We weren't quite ready for that, but they were back again the next day. They were booked in a hotel 2 blocks away that when they arrived was under construction, so they moved them to a different hotel. So we talked the next day. They live in Wilmington, Delaware, but the company that she used to work for used to do business in Rockland, Maine, and her family has a summer camp on Damariscotta Lake, which is 20 minutes from us. So when they came up that summer, they invited us to dinner with a couple other of their friends, and one couple, the man I play hockey with on Monday nights and have for about 20 years now, and one of the other fellows lives an hour away, but he knew 4 people that I used to work with in Rockland. I mean, just those connections. So we've kept in touch. We had dinner with those folks just 2 weeks ago tomorrow when we were down in New Jersey for our grandson's concert. They met us in South Jersey. We had lunch together before we came back home. And this past summer, Sue called Kelly. She says, I need you to block out these dates. Our daughter's getting married in Charlottesville, Virginia, and we want you and Brad there. So we've been invited to the wedding. You didn't know these people from anybody. So for those that are scared about loss of community, yes, you will lose many from your existing community. It's like when that light is in you, when people see you, when you're open, God will bring the right people into your life in the right season.
So interesting. I say this a lot. We just grew up with the whole message of, well, people will want to know God through us by looking at our lives and our countenance and our, and it's like, I look back on that now and I think, no, they didn't. No, they wouldn't. No one would ever want to be like us, but now, yes, it's the light, it's the spirit, it's the joy, it's the vibe of just,
It's the 15-minute conversation in the garden center at Lowe's.
yeah,
And you'll never see those people again in your life probably, but
right.
you walk away and your spirit's lifted.
Yes. I absolutely love that. So many things that we could, meeting just for predators. Okay. You're welcome, Sarah. Sarah's saying, thank you for using your gifts to help uplift us. So many, many things that we could go on and on and on about. But tell me for just a second, Brad, how you pray now. What does prayer look like in your life?
Well, I used to get on my knees morning and evening, and I don't always do that anymore. I used to wake up in the middle of the night and find something to fret about. And now if I wake up in the middle of the night, it's more of a talk to God or listen for God. And while there are times that I still get on my knees, it's like it's more conversational just through the course of the day. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's what it means to be instant in prayer. I started a study just this morning, a friend in North Carolina, 21 days in Psalms and Proverbs, and it was talk about meditating on the law of the Lord. Well, and it struck me if His law is just to love Him first, and then to love our neighbor, then is that just all day long one? And how can God use me to help something in His creation, somebody? Mm-hmm. What opportunity will, I don't know, but I mean, that's kind of, my prayer life is not structured as it once was, maybe is be the short answer.
I think I love that answer, Brad, because I can only speak for myself again, but for me, it's a way of life now. I feel like my life is in Thanksgiving. My life is in love and gratefulness, all the time. Somebody gave me a little saying years ago, and it just says, what if you gave everything God? Like a message from God. I looked at that for years and years and years. And every time I can tell you the defiance in my soul, every single time I looked at that for years, because I've been out since 1993. And I was like, nope, not going to happen. No. But it planted a seed. And so I guess my point on that is for anybody out there to not discount the seeds that get planted, because you never know what can happen and how it can change people later. Because now I wake up in the morning and I'm like, I'm all yours, do with me whatever you would like. And it's just such a different, the defiance just isn't there at all anymore. Even though I don't, let's talk for a second about those of us that don't go to church. So I don't go to church. I don't read my Bible all the time. I don't study. I'm not, I just don't. I'm very much, like I mentioned, we live on native land. I'm very much I'm just 100% all in. I get fellowship like this all the time, all day, every day. Talk to us for a second about what that looks like for you and how to help people who are struggling with that they don't go to church, or guilt, or do go to church, or what they should do, because we're so used to coulda, shoulda, woulda.
Well, yeah, we struggled for a little while. I really feel personally that God called us out of religion. We wondered about church. There's a couple when in 1993, my parents moved from Delaware to Maine, and they bought a house. The lane is just a quarter of a mile from us, and Mom passed in '94, so Dad was alone for many years. But anyways, the neighbors behind him were very kind people, and I knew they were church-going people. So I think it was last summer one day, I saw them for the first time since we'd left meetings. They were walking down our road together, and I got really excited, and I went running up the driveway to stop them and talk to them, and wondered where they went to church. And we talked very briefly, and they said, go finish your walk. And then they came into the house, and we visited for quite a while. He prayed. He's an elder in a local church. Asked if he could pray for us, and we said yes, and it was a beautiful prayer. And he had, one of the things he prayed for was healing, not just for us, but for our church, which I thought was pretty beautiful. And so we thought, well, maybe we'll go to his church and see what it's about. And as he left and we went out the front door, he kind of swept his hand and like over the neighborhood and said, isn't it sad to think of all these people going to hell? And I said, I don't need to go to a church like that. I've been in one of them for a whole bunch of years. And then a year ago, we had our kitchen redone, and when we were talking about the plumbing work, there's a plumbing contractor that lives, I don't know, a quarter of a mile down the road, and he came, and we got talking, and he's a pastor of his own church, and we had a great discussion, and he invited us there, and of course I found his church online and saw what their bylaws and their rules, etc. were, and line one was King James Version only, and it's like, I don't need to go there. So it's like these doors just kept shutting. Kelly's sister does go to a church. It's an hour away. We've gone a couple times with her, and we've liked his teaching okay. And we listen to a lot of some online sermons, teaching, whatever else. But I don't feel a need for it.
Right.
We have Jesus gave the promise that his spirit would be poured out unto all men, and that his spirit would guide us. And it's amazing, like you said. I used to jump out of bed and get on my knees and pray, and quite frankly, didn't spend a lot of time there some days, and then went on with my day. And now I wake up and I'll lay in bed for an hour just with thoughts in my head. And like you said, it's like, God, the one you love is awake now, and if you have something for me to do today, then just let me know when it's all over.
Yep.
Because I mean, sometimes things happen so fast. It's like it's like I think about the old belief that we had to earn our salvation. I mean, you could get up in the morning and make a whole big long list of good things to do, and they might be good things, but the things that to me is kind of like our own works.
Yeah.
And in just the in that moment when something's laid on your heart and you respond, it's like something happens before you even realize that it's over, before you realize it's happening.
Yes, I agree. I think that I don't want to call it discipline, but like I hear correction very quickly, and I'm very quick to respond. I don't feel defensive. You know what I mean? It's
I
like
know
a lot.
exactly what you mean.
There we go.
Kelly and I have talked about that. It's like your conscience is pricked.
Yes.
You don't,
Really.
I don't get on my knees at nighttime anymore and think of all the things that I've done that were disappointment to God to ask forgiveness for. It's like in the moment, your conscience is
Yes.
pricked to
Yes.
turn from that now. Now,
Yes.
that's
Now.
be done
And
with.
it happens in that moment. Like
Hmm.
in that moment, it's like you need to say that differently. You need to apologize. You need to, whatever it is, it just comes so much faster for me now. And I don't have, I used to be like, oh, whatever. I'll get to it when I get, like I just used to be so, I say ego driven because I don't know how else to say that, but self righteous is probably the right word,
That's ego.
and now yeah, I don't know. I feel like and I don't, like you said, I don't worry about stuff. I don't worry about my health. I don't worry about my life. I don't worry about my animals. I don't worry about people. Like I always say I'm responsible to you, not for you. I will do everything that I can, but you have free will and I will absolutely be here for you anytime that I can be, but I cannot do it for you. Like that's not how it works. Whatever it is.
It's getting beyond the point where you feel like you have to please others or to
Yeah.
fit their expectation of you.
Yes. I agree with that. So here's one of the other things that I talk about a lot, and it's that I always say the truth lies in the anticipation, and I say it a lot. How are
You
you
see,
anticipating this time together today? The truth lies in the anticipation. When you're looking forward to something, you're either looking forward to it or you're not. Like you're dreading it. So,
I wasn't dreading it. Um, live is different than having a discussion with
recording.
someone and then having them go back and edit it. So I mean,
Yeah.
there was some nervousness about that.
Well, that's common and
Just
normal, but
for the others, maybe I told Crystal that I had planned on it and get to the store to get a helium balloon and then just suggested to calm my nerves, I needed to take a deep breath before we started and suck a little helium, lighten the moment. But it's very easy to just talk to somebody like yourself. Kelly and I had an interview with Whitney several months back, and she's another one that just, I guess when a person has that light and that love in their hearts, it just becomes easy to have open conversation with them.
yeah. I just want to encourage people too, I think it was last week's show that I said I'm just a crazy blonde that gives a shit. Um, and Kelly said I am too. I don't remember what show that was on or when I said it, but it's just very, very true. But what I want to encourage anybody out there is exactly what you're doing and to stepping into that. So many people feel like I can't do it or I don't know what to do or I'm they just don't have the confidence yet. But you know, I have learned to be very, very bold and very, very clear, but at the same time, in such a loving way. Like I used to be a true bull in a china shop, and now I just get that way once in a while. Um, but it's the love that leads. And so I just want to encourage anybody out there, like if you just open your heart and do what you did, say, use me however. If that's just a gentle prayer, you don't have to worry about it. It'll all work out. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, and I've learned a little bit about the boldness. I need to learn more about how to do it. Be bold gently.
Well,
I, quite
we
frankly, I mean, boldness is what I think fast tracked our journey out of meetings. For those that aren't aware of it, I mean, we found out after Milford Convention in 2023. So it would have been in August, end of August of 2023, when we found out that Irving Ross was to be in Maine again. And I had found, discovered in Wings that he'd been knowledgeable about these things for years. And I felt compelled and wrote him a letter and said, there'd be no bed here for you this year. And I mean, that brought things to a head quickly.
Yeah.
But I have absolutely zero regrets about that.
Yeah. How many years did you guys have meeting in your home?
32.
Wow.
It's a lot of folding chairs lugged up and downstairs.
That
And in
sure
May,
is.
and a lot of Sundays in the wintertime to get up and clear the driveway and get ready, and then afterwards clear it again that evening because the snow hadn't stopped. Now that I'm retired and we don't have a meeting here, it's easy to forget what day of the week it is. But when it snows, you can wait till it's all done and then go do it.
There you go. I am with you there. So I have another question. What do you do about communion now?
We have, as far as the bread in the cup,
Yes.
we have not had that since last summer. I watched a video a couple of years ago. Jeffrey Miller Ministries. There's a YouTube video. Jeffrey Miller Ministries about the Jewish truth about communion, and it is absolutely beautiful. With the symbology or the references that Jesus made when he sent his disciples to find that upper room that was prepared for them, and the man carrying the water and so on and so forth. But Kelly and I have done this alone. We have done it when we've had special company and chose to remember Jesus together. Not done with any type of a worship service, either with a meal or just to do it. But we have used matzo crackers, which are unleavened.
Yes.
I believe when Jesus said, remember, that, or when he said, this is my body, and that video makes it very clear that he was showing something that was sinless, unleavened. To cook that bread, it's done at high temperature for a short time, so it's pierced and it's browned. It's like scorched, and it has so much in it. It's just when we have done that, it's been incredibly moving to remember what his body, what he did for our sake. We often heard preach Isaiah 53 spoken about. Isaiah 52 is a pretty graphic description of his body. So, like I said, he said as oft as you do it. He didn't say to do it with any regularity.
Right.
I do believe, and it seems to me that this was maybe even changed some in Paul's time. It sounded more like the bread that they used was a loaf, that they were as symbolic, they were all one body. But I don't believe that that's what Jesus was telling and I think even saying as oft as you remember this, I think that he knew at that time that there would be people that practiced Judaism that would accept him as a Messiah, but they would continue to celebrate the Passover.
Interesting.
And when they would take that unleavened bread, that they would remember what he had done for them. And the cup, we often heard it prayed for, and I did myself, for fresh cleansing. He died once for our cleansing, past, present, and future. That cup that he blessed was after the meal. I think in Luke's gospel, it speaks of him blessing the cup after the meal. And again, in that video that I mentioned, that cup was a cup of joy. It was a cup of salvation, but it was a marriage covenant. And he was basically saying, this is my blood, and I will protect you to the death. That's a remembrance of the
In remembrance of me.
in remembrance of me. I'm your groom. I'm your groom. I've gone home to put an addition onto my father's house, which in their tradition is called a mansion. And when it's ready, you'll be called.
I love that. You know, I named the Survivor Rites, Rites, for a reason. If there's anything that we can do to encourage people to continue to have ritual like that, to continue to break the bread and have the cup, to find a way, I don't care if it's as simple as lighting a candle and looking into the flame and just in that moment letting it be sacred, to bring the sacred in and to have that be a part of our daily lives. Something that not is not just habitual, that that's what we do, but it's something that we seek. Um,
I liked how you said that, Crystal, something sacred. And that's one of the reasons that I think that we've chosen to not do it weekly. Is I know I've been forgiven for it, but I handled the bread and the cup very ritualistically, and we partook of them very out of form and ritual. And I don't think that form and ritual to me is like pagan sacrifice.
yes,
And so when we do it, it has very, very deep meaning.
yes,
And it's not that I don't think about it often,
right.
like daily. Um, but
But it's spirit led.
but when we have that physical, it was a couple visiting us last summer, and we asked them if they'd like to do that, and we did, and we stood around the table. How old is your daughter? 12. No,
Oh,
yeah.
yes, she was
Yeah,
11.
the daughter was 12, and
11.
she'd been
Actually,
since
no,
they
12.
left meetings, she'd been baptized. What's
She's
that?
9. She was 8 going on 9.
I'm sorry, 8 going on
She
9.
got baptized at 9.
So, anyways, it was offered to her too, and she took the
Bread.
she took the bread, the matzah cracker, and then she sniffed the wine and she passed on it. She said, "No, not gonna have that." But it was just cute. That it's beyond cute. It was even the reverence that she had
Yes,
at that age.
yeah,
Her grandparents were baptized. Her grandparents left meetings, and they were baptized, and she was baptized at the same time. I want to say that her father baptized her, but I'm not certain of that.
let's go
Yeah.
back to that real quick.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
What?
They both were with her, baptizing her.
Yeah, both her parents.
Yeah.
Yeah, her parents baptized her.
Interesting. I want to go back to the baptism really quick. We're getting down on time. I'm going to just put it out there. Does anybody out there specifically have questions for Brad? Anything that they would like to ask him? We're going to wind this down. But the last point I thought a lot about the baptism story that you told me earlier, and you told it earlier today.
That's the quick version.
I'm sure. I'm sure. But it was such a thing for us. And it was such a, I went back to meeting, I reprofessed. So I total professed 3 times. So I went back twice. And I had to be rebaptized each time.
By a worker.
By a worker. Yeah. Because I was that horrible when I was 20 years old because I had tried to take my life. It was a horrific. Who in their right mind does that to a person? It's so, I thought about again this week about the workers. I'm going to get back to the baptism in a second, but this is what I was thinking. They don't have the lived experience that we do. They don't know what it's like to make a mortgage payment. They don't know what it's like to have the pain. They don't know what it's like to have babies running around and have to go to work. Like, they are literally cared for and coddled and taken care of and handed money all day, every day of their lives. So to have them have any kind of understanding, like, we know psychology-wise, people only have an understanding to the level of their understanding. They don't have the capacity to have the kind of understanding that we have because they don't know what day-to-day life even looks like.
The first aspect of the fruit of the Spirit mentioned is love. They say they're Spirit-led. How many people have seen love from any of them in the last 3 years? So if they don't have love, to me, to examine the fruit would say that the Spirit that is in them is not the Spirit of God. And so there's no understanding of Scripture either. And that's why we read the Bible differently today.
Yes.
It's only because God dwells within now, His Spirit.
Yes, I was just going to say,
Understand.
not only do we read it differently, we feel it differently. I think feeling it very different. The
Yeah.
feeling part, we used to make fun of people who cried in meeting all the time. Like, it was a terrible thing. Now I'm in tears half the time, all the time, because I feel so much and I feel it so deeply. I want to get back to baptism very quickly. I want to encourage anybody out there, if you feel a need, if the Spirit is leading you in any way to be rebaptized, whether you go to church or don't go to church or whatever, I don't know why I'm feeling that right now, but I'm just feeling like there's somebody out there that's just needing to know. You could go to a friend and get rebaptized, or you can, like, because it's between you and God, like that person doing the baptism. So I want to know from you, how did you know you had the authority to do that?
Scripture, the example we have in Scripture. Philip, when he baptized was it Philip that baptized the Ethiopian eunuch, right?
Yes.
This lady told me that she believed that Jesus was her Savior and that she wanted him to be Lord of her life. And I considered myself to be a devout disciple, and we had water. And today I think it's a beautiful expression of someone that has accepted Jesus as their Savior. But I believe that the baptism that Jesus really intended when he said to make disciples of all nations and to baptize them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, that's just to me, that's the completeness of God. God is love. Isaiah 11 speaks about the Spirit of the Lord, the Spirit of wisdom, the Spirit of understanding. There's 7 aspects to it. I can't name them all. But that's for us to immerse people in love every day, over and over and over again. We can baptize people every day.
Yes.
With wisdom, with understanding, and with love.
Yes.
And I think that's what was intended. I think that I know for myself that a water baptism does nothing for the Spirit. John baptized in there, and then he told them to go show fruits meet for repentance. They were baptized, but there was no change of heart.
Right.
But if the change of heart has happened and a person wants to express that to their friends or to the world, then a water baptism can be a very beautiful thing.
I love that.
The sad part of that story, this was in October. It was the 1st of October that I think we had the baptism here. And it was, Kelly and I were out in December, out running some errands, and my phone rang and she called me. She was just about in tears that some of the workers wanted to go have coffee with her, and she said, yeah, I'll go but you invited me, you're buying. And but she said when I told them I'd been baptized, she said they weren't happy for me. They didn't want to pray with me. And then when she saw Titus and told him that, this part here I have to chuckle about, told him that she had been baptized, his response was, we know. So word travels very fastly somehow. And I've never met Titus, but I'm sure I'm on some list of his anyways.
Going on him today. We got to hang this up.
Yeah, but anyway, and he also confirmed that was not, the baptism was not recognized by the church, that she still could not have the bread in the cup.
That is unfortunate.
Yeah.
I want to acknowledge Mark. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I've not been seeing anything in a chat, so I have no idea.
We
what
have a lot.
questions-
I want to acknowledge some of these. Mardell's saying, when people would ask me why I often cried during my testimony, my reply was that my heart is as wide open before God and being softened by the sheer magnitude of his presence. I agree, Mardell. Same. When you feel that, God's presence. And Jared talks about this a lot, Jared Lehrwick, and I just want to say this again. He is so clear now that God lives in us. So whether God is in meeting or not, and whether God is in the system or not of what the 2x2s are, what we can take with us and what we can know for sure is that God is in us. And in that, we can have peace and we can know love and we can know him.
Yeah, and we used to pray that he'd bless us with his presence. It's like, right. If you don't bring him with you.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, that's you talk about some so blind and so ignorant about these things, but I was there.
Yeah.
I was there.
And your heart was changed, Brad.
Yeah.
And I love that. I just love that. I want to say no more gatekeepers. Yes, Edith, no more gatekeepers. This is what I just wanted to say as a funny on the ending when I heard you on CC. I love the fact that you guys had invites everywhere you went. What a great use that we can all now have for our extra bedroom. We can all go visit each other.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Seriously, like let's use it for that because how fun is this? You know, I'm going to be at your house staying in those bedrooms. And when you told me how many extra bedrooms you had, I'm like, okay, we're going
Yeah,
to
you
figure
want a different room every night, probably. Let me see what the view in this one looks like.
I can hardly wait.
Yeah.
Anyway, we are over on time. Go ahead, Brad.
One last thing for people that have questions.
Yeah, you have final words, so go.
Yeah, no, it's just if anybody wants to reach out to us, that's things that weren't covered here, things that are on your heart, on your mind, you want to talk about. The only request I would have is if you call the text first, because if I don't have your number, it's just going to go to a voice message, and that gets confusing. But if you want to talk on the phone, if you want to have a video call, if you want to reach us by email, doesn't matter.
I feel like I'm going to say this. I don't know why I feel the need to say this, but I'm going to say it. I have said this to Jared and Kendra Lerwick because I believe very much the same for them. And I believe the same for you and Kelly. You have a ministry of deliverance. That is, I just feel so strongly that what you are doing with your lives now is helping people find love, God's love. And I cannot thank you both enough.
You know, it's not us, but you're welcome.
It is life-changing.
But you wonder what your purpose is when you get to be this age. Things come clear, but we broke a cycle in our family, and if we can give courage to anybody else or healing to anybody else or whatever anybody else needs, if we can give it, then that's a good thing.
Well, I want to thank you for your time in preparing for this today, in prayer and reading and contemplation and all things that I know the intention with which you came into this was purely love and to help others, and I love you for that. Thank you, Kelly, for just both of you. Thank you, everyone out there, for listening today. Happy Sunday, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We will see you again next Sunday. Well, I will see you again next Sunday, I think. Maybe. I'm trying to get Steve or Mike to take next Sunday, but we'll see. Anyway, love you all. Have an amazing day. If anybody has any questions, and thank you for just being involved and for participating and for commenting and asking questions and all the good stuff. So anything that you want to say as final word, Brad, before we wrap this up?
Thanks for all you do.
With my whole heart, my friend.
Yeah, no doubt.
All right. Love you, love you.
Have a great day.
You too.